we were taking in a whole season of ticket income, for instance, about 4.5 million. That was our take for the season, right? And when you think that one match, or maybe nearly two matches at some of the big clubs, covered the whole of our season's income, you start to realise then that we couldn't, however well we did it, we couldn't earn enough to stay in the Premier League and pay salaries and so on. Until, of course, later the TV money got so big that crowds became less important. But that's a good few years later. That's 10 years later almost. But 2008 it really started to hot up. TV money, I mean, from Sky and BT and so on. So we were a good 10 years ahead of big money. And also we needed to basically generate a bigger interest in the business. We needed more people to come in, yes, but it was really all the other interest that was the key thing, from income, from, sponsorships, from crowds, obviously, but from catering, from all the things that make up the total income these days of a football business. And as I say, big clubs now are moving to even bigger stadiums and so on because they realise the facility. And you can't do it. One of the problems that the club has now, of course, is that it doesn't own the stadium, and you see now what they're missing in revenue. If we had got the stadium here now and everything going with it as was planned, the club wouldn't be in this position. And, how that happened, I don't directly know, but all I'll tell you is they've got a hell of a thing to look in the mirror over whoever did it, because they've ruined the club.
Did the club ever look at redeveloping Highfield Road?
They couldn't do it.
On the same site?
We did have a look. It was impossible. There just wasn't the room there to do it. And you needed the income from the retail. That was the key. The whole key for it. We wouldn't have moved if we hadn't got the planning consent for the Tesco, and we wouldn't have moved if we hadn't got the planning consent for the other retail park around it, where the filling station is and the McDonald's and all those things in that development.
So you had an indication that planning would go through, that everything would be fine?
Absolutely, but I mean the key was the planning.
Yeah.
And this is where the planning was a pretty good shoe-in a way, because it was a bad area, it was a bad site. The big old gasometers were on the site, and it was still within the boundary of Coventry. It was right by the M6. It had an access point a few hundred yards. It was the perfect site.
Did you look at any of the sites?
Yeah, we looked at the butts.
Really?
Yep. Because Keith Fairbrother, was then running Coventry Rugby Club, I think. And Keith came to me and said, would we have a look at the butts and maybe do a joint, we do the development, they play there as a tenant. In other words, a reverse way round that we've got at the Rico. But again, that wasn't, there wasn't enough room there to
support.
Well, we needed to put a damn big supermarket there, and if you look, the new Everton Stadium that's going to be built now, it's got a huge stores and everything going with it. Every one of these are retail funded. Only way to do it.